Everybody, and welcome to Coding Quick Hits. We're going to talk about the map function. If you haven't used the map function, I think you'll love it. Once you start using map, I think you'll never go back. Let's take a look at how it works. Suppose you have an array, numbers 1, 2, 3, 5. We see it over here on the console. You want to perform an operation on every single one of these elements of the array. In this example, let's say you want to cube it. If you didn't have the map function, you would probably have to do something like this, where you would loop around the array, and then inside the loop, you would perform your operation. In this case, it's a cubing. In order to not destroy the original array, you would need to create a new array, and then inside the loop, you would build it. You could also use a push. There's different ways of doing this. So I'll hit save. There it goes. It works. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this. This definitely works. And when I first started working with JavaScript, this is exactly how I did it. But there's a cleaner way of doing it, and it's a much simpler way. If you can streamline your code, it just helps to reduce errors. You can find bugs a lot easier, and it's just a lot easier, less time consuming. When you want to analyze your code, you can come back to it months later and say, what was I doing? If it's just a one-liner, then it just makes your life so much easier. Let's take a look at how you could do that in just one line. It's pretty simple. You're still dealing with the original array numbers. You use the .map syntax. You'll have parentheses, and what's inside the parentheses is a function. Now, in this case, it's an anonymous function. I'm using the arrow syntax. The way it works is this function will be applied to each and every one of those elements in the array. And then in the same one line, I will create my second array and set it equal to this .map function. So you can see it's a lot easier going from this, where you have 4 lines. It's not that complicated, but it's just kind of taxing on the mind when you're going through things, to this, where it's just a single one-liner. All right, so I think I already hit save, and then yes, there you go. All right, now you could also use, of course, a named function. It doesn't have to be an anonymous function. Let's look at that. Here, let's say you have an array of URLs. Now, you don't want the first part, which is https://. Now, this is just a very stylized example. I'm saying it's going to be exactly the first 8 characters that you don't want, so you can use the substring method. This is just for example purposes. Now, you'll have a named function here, a strip out prefix. You'll still use the same format as what we looked at before. You'll create a brand new array, URLs to equals URLs, use the .map, and then you'll just put in the name of your function. You don't want the parentheses after that. You'll just put in the name of your function. Console log it out, and there you go. Now, I want to show you a practical example of how you could use this, let's say, in Instagram scraping. Let's take a look at Instagram. I can close this down, and I can get rid of this. Right. All right, here's a friend of mine. I use her account all the time when I'm doing Instagram checks and things like that. I don't think she minds. Right. So if you've done any investigation at all about any work at all in scraping on Instagram, it's common knowledge that there's a JSON object that you'll want inside the page. Now that is all the way down here almost there. There we go. Let me bump up the resolution here. Bump up the font size. It's inside this script tag right here. This is it, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. Your JSON object is from here all the way on down. But the first step is to at least get this inner text. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we might want to do that. All right, let's make this bigger. We know it's the script tag, and there's a bunch of script tags in here, right? Let's just go ahead and take a look how you might want to do it. You'd say document, queries, selector, all, and then you'll look at script. There's 20 of them. Well, which one is it? We know that we want the one that starts with this. It starts with window._share data. It's not immediately obvious which one it is. To look inside is pretty time consuming. Well, that's not quite it. So you'd have to go in and out at every single one of these. There's an easier way of doing it using the map function. So remember, the map function deals with an array. Now this document query selector is a node list, so we have to bracket it with an array from. So I say array from, okay. And then we'll put in our document query selector all, and then we got the script tag. I feel like I'm missing something. Well, all right, here's the end of our parentheses. Okay, so far so good. So now we're dealing with an array, but we want to do some more. So we'll use our map function on it, and we'll use the arrow function with the anonymous function. We want to look at the inner text. No, maybe I want to use slice 0.25. I felt like I was missing that parentheses. So let's take a look here. There we go. So this is a little bit better way, a lot better way of doing it. You can inspect it right off the bat and see which one it is. It's this one right here, the 16th one. There's another thing I want to show you where instead of console logging it out, actually I didn't console log it, it just automatically prints. But you can give it a name. We'll say list 1. All right, so now I have a name. I could say a console table. You could do a console table on a list, and it's really very nice. Do you see that? It gives you the elements here. It's the index and then the value. When we looked at it before, a lot of these values were blank. A lot of the values here were blank. Now, index table just kicks those out. And we're just dealing with, I guess if you really want to look at it, you can look at it down there. The table will just give you the ones that have a value in it. So we can see, here we go. The 16th one that's the one we want. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. So now you know how to use the map function. It operates on an array. It has to be an array. And it saves you a lot of effort. You don't have to go through looping around or anything like that. You just deal with it in a one-step fashion. And at the same time, you can define another array and set it equal to this. You put in your function. It could be a name function or an anonymous function, and away you go. It's just one line. It's very, very clean. You could use name functions if you want. Oh, I'll uncomment this part out. This is what I just went over here. You could do, if you want to investigate scraping documents, you could use your document query selector and so on. Just remember that you'll need to put it inside this parentheses here, array from, turn it into an array. That turns it into an array. Now you can use your map function, way you go. I use this slice because I want to skinny this down a little bit. Okay, that's about it. I hope you learned something new today. Thanks for tuning in.